Hello and welcome to the video. In this video it's a review and build of this model here. This is the new Durafly Brewster F2A Buffalo 920mm, available in two schemes, pre-World War II and World War II. This is the pre-World War II one that I have here with these really pretty yellow wings and the aluminium style paint on the body. Costs about £107. Is EPO foam construction. All the paint and decals and everything are applied as it comes out the box. I'll show you how this comes and how quickly it goes together in a moment. It has a cockpit with a scale pilot, but interestingly it also comes with a cockpit ready to pop in a pan and tilt servo, so maybe that pan and tilt servo that we looked at a couple of weeks ago would be a fab option to pop in this if you wanted to do some scale warbird FPVing with a smaller model. As well as having a 920mm wingspan, length is 650mm, so it's quite a pudgy, short little model, but very much in the style of the original Buffalo. The motor is a 28mm Aerostar 12,000 kV brushless outrunner motor at the front, hidden away in the middle of all that scale cowling. The ESC is a 40 amp brushless Aerostar, and the motor is spinning a 10 by 5 inch prop. To get this flying, you're going to need a 4-channel radio. There aren't any gear or anything like that on this. This is one of those throw and show styles models that Durafly has started to bring out. Now, we looked at another one of these recently, and that was a V-tail plane, very modern looking, and this is in the same vein but very much aimed at those World War II scale enthusiasts as well. So it doesn't have any landing gear, it's designed to just be thrown, and we'll look at all those features in a moment. The box itself is covered in full colour artwork of both of the paint schemes and gives details of the plane and makes it look like a big Airfix model. Opening it up, then you can see how nicely packaged it is. The main wing is in one piece at the top on this piece of cardboard that's reinforced and protected with foam inserts at the end to make sure that the wing isn't compressed or damaged in transit. Looking at the main wing, you can see that all the control surfaces are pre-installed, all the decals are here, the paint application is very nice, and the finish on the foam is very smooth indeed. Interestingly, even though these are foam hinges, they seem very free and easy to move, so I'm guessing that's something that's been changed recently, because usually foam hinges need a little bit of work, and these move really nicely. So under that wing, then we have the main body itself with the pilot canopy. There's that little motor hidden away in the middle of that big scale cowling. We have all this room underneath where the wing is going to go, covered by an extra piece. The tail is moulded in, and again the rudder has the control horn already pre-attached, and you pull on the little tab at the back to get into the battery hatch, and there's absolutely tons and tons of room in here. Now, I'm using a 3S2200 battery, and popping it right in the very nose gets the center of gravity spot on, but all the cables and everything are nice and easy to get to here to wire up to your receiver. Looking at the other pieces in the box, there is the piece that goes underneath the wing as it fits into the body that finishes off the main fuselage. Has a bulge on there which is going to help with landings and just help try and protect the rest of the body from getting damaged. We have the Fpv Canopy as well. Now, I wasn't expecting to get this in the kit, and that is a really neat touch. I love the idea of having a little small sub 1 meter warbird like this that you can put the FPV kit on. Makes it very easy to transport and great fun to fly around. The FPV Canopy itself also has some kind of scale decals here with the instrument panel, so as you're looking around in FPV, it gives you more of an immersive experience. I also like it's all painted black. It means there isn't lots of light reflected up into the camera lens. It doesn't look very scale with it attached, but then if you're going for FPV, you're not really bothered about that, are you? Little piece that goes over the back part of the fuselage when you install the horizontal stabilizer and elevators. We have the 10 by 5 inch prop. Okay quality. I definitely make sure that you balance this. Mine needed quite a chunk of tape to get nicely balanced. And then you have the horizontal stabilizer that fits into the back, again with the control horn pre-installed, and the foam hinges nice and free. The only last things in the box in the corner is a little box of bits, and that has all your control linkages, the screws that you need, and the Velcro as well to put it together. So once everything's out, putting it together is really straightforward. First thing I did was just sorted out the control horns, 90 degrees the servos, Adjusted the connections at the end of the rods so that the control surfaces are at 90 degrees. Nice ball links here, and then each of the packages that comes as part of the kit is very nicely labelled, so you know exactly which screws you're going to use for which. So just popped that into place. Also did that with the horizontal stabilizer. That slides into place, and you glue both the rib that's on the horizontal stabilizer and a couple of pegs that is on this piece that goes over the top, and put them all together. Before you put the wing on the plane, I would just 90 degree all the servos. There is a little Y cable that comes in the part box that makes it easy to wire up to your receiver. 90 degree the servos, they were pretty spot on mine. And then again, make up the control linkages. It's just a case of pushing the wing home on the underside of the body, covering it with the other piece of foam, and then using the 2 screws that are part of the kit to hold that in place. Once that's all done, then it's just little pieces that need to go on here with a little bit of foam safe glue. Then there are protectors for the servos on each of the wings. Just pop those on, and there's also some scale exhaust that, again, with a little dab of glue, just push into place. Once you've done that, then pop on the balanced propeller onto the front of the nose, and you're good to go. So this video is me flying for the first time. This is my maiden with the model, and as I'm maidening the model, let me just quickly talk about what I found and my recommendations are. This thing is very easy to launch thanks to those little indented pieces underneath. Now I have set my throws up, and I'll cover this again at the end of the video, for the elevator as 8mm, rudder at 15mm, and ailerons about 14mm, with a nice healthy chunk of exponential, about 30-35%. This is a scale warbird, so it does fly as such. It can be quite twitchy at the edge of the throws, and interestingly, Hobby King haven't decided to include some throw recommendations in the manual, but the centre of gravity seems spot on. So I would recommend those throws as an intermediate pilot. There's still plenty of enough throw on those controls to get into trouble. The only difference really with this flight that you're watching here, as I'm desperately trying to trim the plane out, is I dramatically reduced the amount of elevator throw from this initial flight down to that 8mm travel. The reason for that is I found that the elevator has an awful lot of authority. It's a very big elevator sat at the back, and it's sat in all of the thrust coming from that big prop at the front. So very small movements of the elevator give very positive reactions in the aircraft. So dialing that down to that 8mm travel makes it an awful lot simpler to fly. It does look beautiful in the air. Those lovely yellow wings on this calm, bright spring morning here in the UK look amazing in the sunshine, along with that paint. And with a little bit of trim for both the aileron, just to counteract the torque from the motor, and just getting the elevator sat right at the back, so we have nice straight and level flight with that stick in the middle position, I'm getting around 20 minutes, just over 20 minutes, out of a 2200 3S battery that I've got right in the nose. So what do I think? Well, I really like the scale details and paint options on this. The amount of effort that's gone into making this look like a much bigger plane is really appreciated. The paint application's very nice, the way the decals are on here, even little things like the decals at the front before the canopy are really well done. I like the use of things like ball link connections. It makes for a very smooth moving control surfaces, and they have done something with the foam hinges to make sure that they are nice and freely moving straight out the box. I love the fact there is an Fpv Canopy in here as well, and I'm very tempted to pop both the gimbal on here and potentially a flight stabilizer to make FPV a little bit more relaxing into this plane as a nice cute little thing to take to the field to fly. It is very simple and easy to build. There's just 2 screws that hold the wing on, and it's just a case of connecting all the ball linkages up to the control surfaces and gluing in the tail. It does look an awful lot bigger than it is in the sky. I think that's due to the proportions of the Buffalo and that kind of chunky body that you get, similar to some of the other early American piston-driven planes at the start of World War II. But when it's in the air, once it gets 20-30 feet away from you, it could easily be a 1.5 meter size plane, but because of the smaller size, it isn't particularly loud, so you could probably get away with flying this in a park without getting into too many problems. The thing that surprised me is the wide speed envelope. It doesn't like to poodle around at kind of 20-25% throttle. While you're flying, I'd recommend keeping it 40% or above. But one thing that surprised me when my first couple of flights was how floaty it is. And rather than do some nasty tip stalling, it is very gentle on that and it will float in. You do need to make sure the motor is turned off to try and keep the prop out the way of the ground. Couple of things to be aware of with this model. The central gravity is good in the manual, but I'm flying it with a couple of millimeters in front of that and it seems to really like that. Now, the initial versions of the website and manual didn't include any throw information, as I've talked about before. So I reported that back to Hobby King as an omission, and I'm pleased to see that they've actually included the throws. Looks like my throws actually on the website. So props to Hobby King for that. Just be aware though that these throws are very much subjective, depends on your ability as a pilot, and you may have to increase or decrease them slightly depending on how you've got it set up and how much expo that you want to use. But these are not a bad starting point. I'm not a fan of the fact that the tail is glued into place. This will get some abuse as it lands, and mine flipped over as you saw on that very first flight. That horizontal stabilizer being glued in is going to be a bugger to replace if that gets snapped off, whereas the wings being held on with bolts are a really nice idea. It would be nice if in future even these smaller models, all of that bit at the back was held in place with maybe 1 or 2 bolts. That would make swapping out parts a lot easier. Do be aware that when you're putting the prop on, there is a little spacer and it isn't clear which way round it's supposed to go. You will need the spacer behind the prop. Otherwise, when you spin the prop, you'll notice that it will catch the cowling very slightly. The motor itself is angled down by design, so that means it comes very close to the prop. So just make sure that the prop is freely spinning before you turn it for the first time. Otherwise, you'll take the paint off the cowling. And the last couple of things, again, do be careful that the prop isn't clear of the ground on landing. With that other throw and show plane that we looked at a while ago, it kind of was. With this really big prop that's on here, it will catch the ground, and that's what catapults mine over when it lands. And to be honest, there's kind of a 50-50 chance whether that happens or not, depending on the ground that you're landing on. Also might be worthwhile just covering the little bump underneath the body with something that's a bit sacrificial, maybe a piece of metal or a little bit of plastic, because that takes the brunt of the landings too. So in summary, this is a very nice scale model. I like the fact we've got these kind of models coming into this class and the particular care and attention that's gone into making it look this good. It isn't for a new pilot. But if you are a warbird enthusiast, or you'd like to try a warbird out and you don't have the space to play with a bigger model and undercarriage and all of that goodness, then this is a really cute way to try them out. Thanks for watching the video and watching right to the very end. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you like the video and like what I'm doing here, then hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon too. If you really like what I'm doing, you can go the extra mile and become one of my Patreons for access to me directly for support, and also giveaways and regular updates too. If you're looking for particular content, then check out the playlist. I organise all of my videos into playlists, so if you're looking for a particular topic, you can find everything here. If it's called Introduction To, it's designed to start very simply and build on that simple introduction to teach you all about it. If it's called For Beginners, then that is really aimed at people who are brand new to that part of the hobby. You can also search on YouTube for anything that you're interested in using the search function at the top. So iNav Painless 360 will find all of my videos and even the playlist around iNav. So thanks again for watching and happy flying.